Good morning and welcome to a day in the life sailing a Leopard 44 catamaran across the Atlantic Ocean.
We sailed our 37-foot monohull around the world, but now we have a new challenge. To sail this catamaran across 3,000 miles of Atlantic Ocean.
Although we've been here before, it turns out joining another boat can make the same ocean an entirely different experience.
With high highs,
Yeah, you're free! Yes!
Result, guys.
And low lows, as we battle multiple breakages.
So it turns out it's worse than we thought, but it looks like we don't have an autopilot now.
In this series, we share the realities of life on board a catamaran, sailing across the vast open ocean, out of sight of land for weeks.
Right, it's the chain that snapped.
The chain?
The chain has snapped.
morning team, how's it going?
It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Just come on watch, taken over from Ron and Jane, who are sharing the watch because the breeze has got up a little bit recently. It's been a bit squally. I'm now got the joy of helming this boat across the Atlantic Ocean for the next 2 hours until 4 o'clock in the morning when Amy will come up and relieve me. And I guess I should explain why we're only doing 2-hour watches, which is far shorter than we would normally do on Florence and far shorter than we were doing at the start of this trip on this boat. And that reason for the short watches is because our autopilot broke about a week and a half ago and the spare autopilot wasn't up to the job, so we don't have an autopilot, which means somebody has to be hand steering at all times. And hand steering is actually quite tiring because you've got to concentrate on the compass at the moment. Although there's a few stars about, there's nothing in front of me to aim at, so I'm just looking at the compass really and steering to the numbers, and that takes a bit of concentration, and trying to do that for more than 2 hours is hard work. Trouble with having to hand steer is you can't go to the loo, can't go and make a cup of tea, can't read a book, and you can't do anything that's not within reach of the wheel. So we do have, in case we need assistance, we do have an air horn at the helm, so if there's something that really needs to be done and you can't leave the helm, you can fire that off, and the other three who are on board will jump up, quite alarmed I guess, and give some assistance. And you can't just steer in a straight line out on the ocean because the waves throw the boat around, so you're constantly moving the steering wheel to counteract the effect of the wind and the waves on the boat to try and keep her on a straight course towards where we want to go in the Caribbean. It's kind of weird, the feeling. You can't see the waves, you can just feel their effect on the boat. You feel them pick up the stern and then the bow goes down. You can't see anything, but the boat then accelerates down the wave. And then you're just trying to steer to keep the boat heading west. Well, that was a pretty easy watch. No need to put any reefs in, no need to shake any reefs out, just steer in a generally straight line for 2 hours, and I can hear Amy down below getting ready to come up and relieve me, which is good, so I can do with some sleep. It's now 4 o'clock in the morning.
Great. How's it been?
Pretty easy, to be honest, pretty straightforward. We're pretty reefed down. Had 22 knots apparent down to 10 knots apparent. I haven't changed how much the Genoa's reefed at all, just been steering in a straight line. It does keep picking back up again though, so I would be very cautious when it drops off. Wait a good 15 minutes before thinking about shaking any more sail out, because it does tend to pick back up.
Okay.
But other than that, easy peasy, just straight line.
Cool. It's pretty dark at the moment.
Yeah, the moon's just gone behind a cloud. It'll get a bit easier when that pops out from behind the cloud again.
Okay. Hope you sleep well.
Okay, done?
Yeah. Got it.
All yours.
just gone 6 o'clock in the morning and Ron's just taken over from me. I've just finished my last night watch. It's still going to be about an hour before it gets light. I've been really struggling to stay awake for the last 2 hours. I'm very ready to get some sleep.
Morning again. It's just coming up to 9 o'clock in the morning, time for me to get up, have a wash and get some breakfast before my watch at 10 o'clock. Right, having a wash is easier said than done though, because we're trying not to use too much water because we don't have a water maker on board. We do have enough water because we're over 2/3 of the way across the Atlantic now, and we've only used half the water we've got on board, but to try and have a wash in the sink here, it's difficult because if you put any water in the sink with the plug in, because the boat's going along and the drain is on the side of the boat, every time a wave hits the drain, it pops the plug up and all the water drains out the sink. So yeah, but anyway, it's quite hot and humid on board, so I need to at least have a wash, have a shower every 4 days or so, so we're a little bit smelly, but we're conserving water. So breakfast for me in the mornings is normally just cereal, because it's quick and easy. When we had an autopilot working, we tended to more eat it all up together in the morning, but now we're on this watch pattern. Amy's still getting a few hours sleep because she's a couple of hours behind me in the watch pattern. Ron and Jane are actually up on watch now, keeping the boat going in a straight line. So I'll sit here. Jane has already made me a cup of tea, thank you Jane. But it's very civilised on board compared to Florence, because although we are moving about a bit this morning, you can put things on the side and they stay there. You put a bowl on the side, put your cereal in it without having to hold onto it all to stop it going flying across the boat, because on Florence we would be rolling all over the place. So much more civilised, and I can sit here and look out at the view whilst I eat my cereal. Time to put the fishing reel out. Normal routine on Florence would be for the person with a dawn watch to put the fishing line out, because that's dawn and dusk are the best times for catching fish. But since we don't have the dawn watch on this boat, it happens at breakfast time. We haven't fished every day on this trip, just a few days really. Ron and Jane aren't so keen on the fish. Had a couple of nice fish. So it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I've just taken over the watch from Ron, and we're just heading due west. Had a couple of rain squalls around this morning. One's just gone down our port side, got a little bit more wind, so we've got slightly reefed Genoa. And unfortunately we've lost all of the electronics on board. The pilot was having a problem communicating with the rest of the system, and it kept losing communications, and every time it lost communications it set off an alarm to say it lost communications. So that would have been keeping everybody awake at night, so that got turned off, which means we are just using our magnetic old school compass to steer by, and also connected to the pilot is the wind instruments. They're on the same power switch, so instead of the electronic wind instruments we've got a flag which I can just see through the sunroof for our wind direction. So proper old school. Oh, and the chart plotter kept losing position fix. It's only got an internal GPS on it. There's no external GPS unit like on Florence. And every time it lost position fix, it also set off an alarm, and also then it started just resetting itself as well. So that has been turned off as well. So we have no electronics turned on at the moment. We are proper old school with a flag for wind direction and a compass to steer by. And then tonight I think we might just have to get a torch and clamp it somewhere so it shines on the compass, so we can steer by that through the night. It's not too much of a problem in terms of navigation because we have our laptop with us, which is our backup chart plotter for Florence. So it's got chart plotting software on it and all of our Caribbean charts. So when we get a bit closer, we'll turn that on and use that to navigate our way into Rodney Bay on St Lucia, where hopefully we'll be able to get a whole bunch of spare parts in the Charnry there and fix at least most of the problems that we have on board.
Looks like another beautiful sunny day at sea today. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. That's been up for about an hour, but I find it difficult to sleep. I should be sleeping right now, but once it gets light, and it is actually quite noisy on board the boat because you get the waves rushing past the hull, and then you get occasionally, if we come a bit more broadside onto them, you get them slamming into the side. And we're also just below the helm station, so anytime somebody needs to change the sails, then we get the noise of the winches as well. But I don't think it's any more noisy than sailing on board Florence, and normally there's just the two of us on board. So at the moment we get the luxury of a big double bed and the opportunity for both of us to sleep at the same time, which has never happened on an ocean passage before. One of the things that's really noticeable sailing on a catamaran is the lack of motion in comparison to sailing Florence or a monohull, and the fact that you can just walk around the boat. Sometimes it's a bit of a drunken stumble if the waves are a bit bigger, but yeah, the majority of the time it's really easy to move around, and so we move around a lot more than we do when we're sailing on Florence. That lack of motion means that I haven't felt at all seasick for the entire trip, and I can even drink coffee, which is normally one of the things which sets me off, so I'm really enjoying that fact. Before we left, Jane introduced me to a breakfast she really enjoys, and it is now my favourite breakfast on passage. I'm absolutely loving a freezer because it means that we have access to things like raspberries, which has never ever happened before for us in the middle of the Atlantic. The yoghurt ran out, and it also ran out of date a few days ago, so we're on to homemade yoghurt. So I've got muesli, some homemade yoghurt, some frozen raspberries, almonds, and a little sprinkling of cinnamon. How's that for a boat breakfast? That is definitely one up from the porridge that we have on Florence. And I get to enjoy it in the front cockpit as well, where there's a lovely breeze and some nice bit of shade.
At that point, the fishing reel went off. As we don't have an autopilot, I had to jump on the helm so that Matt, who was already wearing a life jacket, could grab the fishing reel before it ran out of line. In order to bring the fish in, I needed to slow down, which means reefing the sail.
Ron and Jane are hopefully sleeping, so I've just had to reef the sails and lash the helm as best as I could, so that I can get a bucket and knife and everything ready for the fish. Looks like a mahi-mahi, which is the first of the trip. Right, well, Matt deals course with that I can get us back on course and unfurl these sails.
Well, there we have one mahi-mahi. Pretty impressive fish. Jane's never tried one of these, so it'll be good to have her taste it. Yeah, it's a reasonable sized fish. Unfortunately, the fishing line, the fishing reel we bought in the Canaries, that's the third fish it's caught and it's now broken. The ratchet's broken on it, so we'll have to try and take that apart and fix that later. But it's really difficult to catch and film catching a fish with no autopilot. So yeah, you really find out how much you rely on that autopilot when you're sailing across an ocean. So that'll be dinner for a couple of nights, that'll be great. It is an absolutely glorious day today. The water is so blue and we've got all this sargassum seaweed we're sailing past, which is just bright yellow. Such stark colours and just not much of a sea state. Beautiful sea out, and it's so nice having this plastic clears up so you get a bit of wind blowing through. It's really nice and warm and it just feels like kind of cruising down the highway almost with your elbow out the window, but you're in the shade so you're not getting blasted by the sun. Absolutely beautiful.
Time absolutely flies when you're off watch, so just from having breakfast, obviously filming, but catching the fish, it is now time for my watch again. So I'm on from 12 till 2.
All yours. Got a bit more breeze coming in on the port side of this cloud.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think you need to breathe. I think it's going to be too much. It'll be fine. Okay?
Yeah.
So around about midday each day, once I come off watch, we tend to connect to check for weather and update our tracker so that our patrons can follow us on this journey in real time. And normally on Florence we do that with an Iridium Go, but on board Ron's boat we've got Starlink, which is great. It's been impressive to see how fast it is and how good a connection you can get across the ocean. It's quite expensive. Ron has actually gone for the full maritime package, which I think is about £250 for the month for 50 gig of data, which is more than you need for getting weather data files. But it's also been helpful when we've had things fail and we've needed to look up manuals for things that we haven't actually got the manuals on board. So it's been great to be able to just look them up like you would at home. So we use this connected to the laptop and we download the weather and we check that to see what's going to happen for the next few days. The way Ron's got this set up on the boat, this doesn't stay out all the time. It's kind of blue tacked to the deck and we just bring it out and place it up here when we want to use it. It's not got a fixed mount for being permanent. So we've downloaded the grid files onto the laptop, and because we've got a much faster connection, we've actually been able to download a much larger area of the ocean than we would have done using our old Iridium Go, which is nice because you'll be able to see the weather systems and the bigger scale pattern of what's coming. And what we're looking for here is gusts, and we're looking for any squalls. So we download both the wind speed, the wind gusts, and also rain, because raining clouds are what bring the squalls. So we always look very carefully at how those are interacting and crossing our route, and that's when we know to especially look out for squalls. So we've got about 3 days left on the trip now, and the breeze looks like it's going to be from 18 to 23 knots, all going to be dead downwind into the Caribbean, but we are going to see more squalls as we approach, and in fact the last 24 hours as we approach look particularly bad for squalls. It looks like some quite heavy rain downpours over where we're going to be, so we'll have to just be cautious on the last bit in. It was only about 80 miles out from the Caribbean when we last did this trip that we snapped our boom in half on Florence, so we really want to make sure we're not doing that this time, which is unlikely because we haven't even got the mainsail up.
Speaking of squalls,
It's been really calm for most of my watch, and I'm just coming to the end of it, and then we've got a raining cloud behind us, so I'm just going to reef the Genoa a little bit just to make sure that we're okay if the wind does pick up. And it's fairly easy to do. You have to kind of steer with your hips, but you can reach both of the winches, and luckily the switch for the electric winch you can do with your toe, so yeah, possible to reef.
There you go.
Oh, nice hat, Ron.
On this trip, as long as we haven't had to fix anything or make any major sail changes in the afternoon, we've been able to spend the afternoons getting a little bit of work done, so some video editing, which is something that we have very rarely been able to do on Florence. The motion on board Florence or a monohull is just too much, and staring at a laptop screen tends to make us seasick. So yeah, it's been great to be able to at least get the footage off the cameras and have a better idea of what we have before we arrive, because normally we just arrive with a mountain of footage and then spend the next couple of weeks when we arrive somewhere editing. So yeah, that's a real benefit of being on a catamaran. Time to make dinner before we go into our night watches. We're going to have the mahi-mahi that we caught earlier with some roast sweet potato, which is in the oven at the moment, and then the very last of some of the salad. So very last tomato and very last carrot, so we better enjoy it. Just frying the fish with some butter and lemon. Very simple, but it's so fresh that it should taste really good. I'm really enjoying being on passage, but one of the things that I am very much looking forward to about arriving is the fact that we will all be able to sit down and enjoy dinner together again, because without a working autopilot, there is always one of us on watch, so somebody gets a cold dinner. It's normally Ron, bless him. It's been really nice on this passage to share the cooking, so Jane's done a lot of the cooking. I think the boys have done a couple of days, but yeah, it's an unusual treat for us. Normally on Florence I do the majority of it, normally because Matt is busy fixing something.
So after dinner, I just come on watch, a little bit late. Amy ate her dinner and then she came and spelled me on watch so that I could go and eat mine. But now it's my turn to be on watch, got about an hour and a half left. And then that's from 6 until 8, and then Amy will come on from 8 until 10, and then Ron after that to midnight to round out the 24 hours. But could be quite interesting because Amy's just reefed the Genoa right down. We've got a big squall cloud going down our port side, and they can bring a lot of wind, so it pays to be cautious and just reef down just in case. And at the moment we can see them, but soon it's going to get dark and you won't be able to see any of it coming. But that's the joy of sailing across the ocean at night. Here we go.
What's this?
So
this is how we do it.
This is the behind the scenes. We tried to film Amy. I'm trying to film Amy cooking the fish, and the sun is just coming straight in and ruining the shot. So Jane stood here with her hat. I'm trying to block some of it with my head, all so that we can film Amy cooking on the hob. This is the behind the scenes that you don't often see.
Next time, we face our biggest challenge yet. When broken steering leaves us adrift at the mercy of the ocean waves, hundreds of miles from land.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning, it's dark, we're in waves, the rudders are being bashed back from side to side. I don't know how we're going to connect it back together.
Continuing our voyage would not be possible without the support of our patrons. Thank you to all of you, and especially to our star patrons.
For extra updates in between these bi-weekly videos, and to find out what we're up to in real time, head over to Patreon and join the crew. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to make sure that you don't miss the next episode here on YouTube.